The scene opens with sweeping, majestic shots of a city bus arriving at a busy stop under a clear, expansive sky. The camera glides slowly along the polished exterior, capturing the glint of sunlight on the metal and the reflective windows that mirror the world around it. In a series of close-up images, passengers are shown boarding the bus, faces filled with quiet routine, some thoughtful, some lost in their own world. Each image is layered with subtle hints of anticipation and an unspoken tension that hangs in the air. As the bus door opens with a soft, mechanical hum, the atmosphere shifts imperceptibly. A palpable tension fills the frame as the door reveals a brief but charged moment. The ordinary act of boarding becomes a stage for something extraordinary. The camera captures the anxious expressions of those already seated and the hesitant glances exchanged between strangers. In the background, a stirring musical score begins to rise, a blend of somber strings and gentle percussion that builds suspense and empathy simultaneously. A deep, authoritative voiceover emerges, resonating through the unfolding visuals. In a moment that would spark a wave of change, a racist act on a city bus sets the stage for justice. One child's dignity will change everything. The words, measured and profound, overlay the visuals, inviting the audience to prepare for an event that promises not only to disrupt an everyday scenario, but also to echo the timeless struggle against injustice. The narrative then shifts gently, transitioning from the exterior of the bus to its interior. Inside, the camera pans across the rows of seats, each occupied by passengers whose expressions reveal a mixture of resignation and anticipation. At the very center of the frame stands the bus driver, a figure whose stern demeanor and rigid posture betray a long-held adherence to discriminatory practices. His eyes scan the bus with a look that is both authoritative and dismissive, setting the stage for the injustice that is about to unfold. The voiceover continues with a calm, yet resolute tone. Today, a routine ride becomes the battleground for dignity and equality. A single act of discrimination challenges the silence that has long concealed systemic injustice. As the narration unfolds, the camera focuses on a specific moment. The bus driver sternly instructing a young black child to move to the back of the bus. The child, with a mixture of confusion and hurt in his eyes, obeys silently. The juxtaposition of the driver's unyielding command against the child's vulnerable expression underscores the central conflict of the narrative. This is not merely an isolated act. It is an echo of a history of segregation and prejudice that continues to affect the lives of the marginalized. The music swells, its notes rising to a crescendo that fills the space with a sense of urgency and impending change. The voiceover deepens its message, connecting this singular moment to a broader historical struggle. This incident is not an isolated act of discrimination. It is a reminder of the long and arduous battle for civil rights that has spanned generations. From the protests of the past to the voices that cry out for justice today, every act of prejudice stands as a challenge to those who believe in equality. The camera interweaves archival footage of civil rights marches and powerful images of unity from days gone by, creating a visual tapestry that links the present injustice to the enduring fight against racism. The scene returns to the bus interior, where the tension becomes even more pronounced. Passengers exchange glances, their eyes conveying both dismay and a burgeoning sense of solidarity. The child, seated in his designated spot at the back, becomes the focal point of a silent, powerful narrative, a narrative that promises retribution and transformation. The narrator concludes this introductory sequence with a final, resonant call. In a world that often silences the oppressed, one brave act of dignity can ignite a revolution. Today, as injustice is confronted head-on, we are reminded that every voice matters, and every act of courage has the power to reshape our future. As the music lingers, the camera slowly fades out from the bus scene, leaving the audience with an enduring sense of hope and determination, a promise that even in the face of blatant injustice, the spirit of justice and equality shall prevail. A warm morning light spills over a modest home, where a young boy sits at the kitchen table, engrossed in drawing a picture of his family. This is Darius, a bright, gentle, and resilient child, whose eyes reflect both the innocence of youth and a depth of understanding far beyond his years. In candid shots captured by a loving neighbor's camera, Darius smiles shyly as his mother lovingly fusses over his breakfast, and his father offers encouraging words about doing what is right. Interviews with family members reveal how Darius's upbringing has been steeped in values of fairness and kindness. His mother explains softly, "From the moment he could speak, we taught him that every person deserves respect." Darius has always been sensitive to injustice, even before he understood its full meaning. His father adds, "He listens, he observes, and he holds a quiet strength that guides him, even in the face of adversity." These heartfelt reflections serve as a window into Darius's world, a world filled with love, support, and the nurturing spirit of a community that values dignity above all. In a series of tender vignettes, the film shifts to moments from Darius's daily life. We see him laughing with friends at school, his eyes lighting up as he learns something new from an enthusiastic teacher. In a brief scene at a local community center, an elder recounts stories of past struggles and the importance of standing up for justice, with Darius listening intently from the back of the room. These glimpses illustrate the profound lessons he has absorbed, not just from his family, but from an entire community that has long fought for equality. Every smile, every quiet act of defiance against small injustices in his everyday life builds the foundation for the courageous stand he is destined to make. His life, characterized by the warmth of home and the collective wisdom of his elders, stands in stark contrast to the cold, impersonal prejudice he faces on the bus later that day. Transitioning to a broader context, archival footage and historical images flash across the screen, detailing the dark history of racism in public transportation. Black and white photographs of segregated buses, coupled with stirring clips from civil rights marches, remind viewers of a time when public spaces were battlegrounds of discrimination. A measured voiceover explains, "For decades, discriminatory practices in public transit have served as a microcosm of systemic racism, a legacy of segregation that demanded courage to overcome." This historical backdrop not only situates Darius's personal struggle within a larger narrative, but also serves to resonate with older audiences who recall those pivotal moments in the civil rights era. The images evoke memories of bus boycotts and fearless acts of resistance that redefined what it meant to demand equality in the face of injustice. The narrative then shifts to modern-day relevance. Brief, poignant segments illustrate that despite significant progress, echoes of past injustices still reverberate in today's public spaces. The camera focuses on empty seats in a modern bus, juxtaposed with archival images of segregated seating, drawing a visual parallel that is both subtle and powerful. A legal expert, speaking in a reflective tone, adds, while laws have changed, the remnants of racial bias persist in everyday settings. Each instance of discrimination reminds us that the fight for equality is ongoing. These words underline the weight of the upcoming events and set the stage for the act of retribution that is about to unfold, a moment that will challenge modern prejudice and awaken a collective desire for justice. In this intricate tapestry of personal and historical context, Darius emerges not merely as a victim of circumstance, but as a symbol of hope and perseverance. His quiet strength, nurtured by family and community, is the antithesis of the cruelty he faces. It is this foundation that prepares him for the defining moment of his young life, a moment that promises to deliver instant karma and rewrite the narrative of injustice. Through these reflections, the audience is reminded that every individual, regardless of age, carries within them the potential to stand up against oppression and to be a catalyst for change. The morning commute begins with an unassuming calm. The camera pans slowly across the interior of a city bus as it makes its usual stop. Soft, ambient sounds of low chatter and the gentle hum of the engine blend with the occasional beep of a fare box. Passengers, lost in their own routines, board with quiet familiarity. The scene is ordinary, until it is shattered by an act that will forever alter its course. As the bus doors slide open, the steady murmur of conversation is interrupted by a sudden, commanding voice. The bus driver, a man with a stern expression and eyes that betray deep-seated prejudice, steps forward. His voice cuts sharply through the ambient noise as he orders, "You, go to the back." The camera captures this moment from multiple angles. A close-up of the driver's rigid, disapproving gaze, a wide shot showing the rows of seats suddenly charged with tension, and an over-the-shoulder view of the young black child standing near the front. His name is Darius, and in that brief moment his expression shifts from innocent confusion to a dawning realization of hurt. The bus driver's tone is imperious, leaving no room for negotiation or explanation. The camera lingers on his face, a mask of authority now stained with cruelty. Across the aisle, other passengers exchange uneasy glances. Some shift in their seats, their eyes wide with discomfort. Others lower their gaze, as if to avoid the stark reality unfolding before them. The juxtaposition of the mundane, everyday setting with the sudden eruption of injustice is palpable. Close-ups capture Darius's small face, his eyes brimming with unspoken questions, and his lips parting slightly in silent protest. His body language speaks volumes, a small, hesitant step backward, a slump of his shoulders, as he processes the harsh command. The ambient sound, once a soft background murmur, now takes on a more layered quality. The steady drone of the bus's engine is underscored by a rising, haunting melody that hints at the gravity of the moment. This music swells subtly as the camera shifts focus between the bus driver's scowl and the child's downcast eyes, capturing the tension in each frame. The routine ride is irreversibly marred by an act of blatant discrimination, and every passenger seems to feel the weight of what has just transpired. Then, in a split second that feels suspended in time, everything changes. Darius, despite his young age and the shock of being singled out, summons an inner strength that belies his years. As the camera moves in for a close-up of his face, the ambient music softens momentarily into a single, clear note, a precursor to an extraordinary act. The boy's eyes, wide yet resolute, fix on the bus driver as if he has reached a moment of irrevocable decision. His lips part slowly, and in that fragile silence, he utters 3 words that pierce the oppressive air. "I am proud." The words, spoken softly but with immense conviction, resonate throughout the bus. The footage slows dramatically, each frame drawn out to emphasize the seismic impact of his simple declaration. Time seems to stretch. The driver's face contorts in shock, his expression momentarily frozen, as if the very essence of his authority has been questioned. Passengers lean forward, caught in the ripple of that profound moment, some with tears welling in their eyes, others with expressions of incredulity and hope. In this moment of suspended animation, the camera captures every nuance: the trembling hand of a nearby passenger, the slight furrow of a brow, and the unyielding gaze of the boy who dared to assert his dignity. The soft, resolute tone of his voice, the quiet pride in his stance, and the unmistakable courage radiating from him all serve as a powerful counterpoint to the bus driver's earlier cruelty. It is a defiant act, not of anger, but of self-affirmation and resilience, a statement that his worth is not determined by someone else's narrow views. As the slow-motion sequence comes to an end, a subtle shift in the scene hints at what is to come. A lingering shot shows a fellow passenger, a middle-aged woman with kind eyes, giving Darius an affirming nod, her expression suggesting that his words have struck a deep, resonant chord within the collective conscience of everyone on board. In the background, an off-screen sound, a distant siren, perhaps, foreshadows that retribution and accountability are now imminent, that karma is gathering its strength. This pivotal moment on the bus, captured with cinematic precision, underscores the profound truth that even the smallest voice can spark monumental change. Darius's brave, measured words cut through the tension, challenging a system steeped in prejudice and igniting a spark of hope among those who have long suffered in silence. The juxtaposition of a routine commute with the explosive impact of his dignity creates an emotional contrast that leaves the audience both moved and inspired, fully aware that the journey toward justice has only just begun. Within minutes of the boy's courageous declaration, the energy in the bus shifts dramatically. The scene transitions with rapid, dynamic editing from the confined interior of the bus to an unfolding series of events that capture instant retribution. A series of quick cuts reveals a fellow passenger, a middle-aged man known for his quiet dignity, standing up from his seat and addressing the bus driver with firm, unwavering words. His tone is measured yet unmistakably forceful as he demands accountability for the injustice that just occurred. In another cut, social media footage appears on a smartphone screen. A bystander has recorded the incident, and the video is already being shared, its comments filled with outrage and calls for justice. The voiceover interjects, stating, "In moments such as these, karma takes swift form." The repercussions of discrimination are not left unchallenged. As the footage continues, the camera captures police vehicles arriving at the bus stop. Officers step out, their faces set in determined expressions, and approach the bus with purposeful strides. The dynamic editing transitions seamlessly from the bus's interior chaos to these external scenes of law enforcement mobilizing. The rapid montage of images, police radios crackling with updates, a focused gaze from an officer, and the solemn nods exchanged among community members builds a visual narrative that portrays swift accountability. A brief interlude features on-screen voiceover commentary from a legal expert, whose measured tone explains, "This incident is a clear demonstration of swift accountability. When injustice is met with collective action, it resonates far beyond the immediate moment, affirming that no act of discrimination will go unchecked." The expert's words are punctuated by clips of community activists gathered outside the bus, some holding signs, others recording the scene on their mobile devices, their eyes reflecting both shock and hope. As the montage continues, the narrative deepens into the collective emotional response. The scene shifts back inside the bus, where the expressions of the passengers are caught in intimate close-ups. Their faces reveal a range of emotions: shock, relief, and an emerging sense of solidarity. A young woman, her eyes glistening with tears of indignation, locks her gaze with the camera as if to silently convey that this moment is a turning point. Another passenger, an older gentleman with a lifetime of memories, offers a subtle nod, a gesture that encapsulates the deep-seated belief that justice, though sometimes delayed, is inevitable. Throughout these sequences, the voiceover provides reflective narration. In every age, a single act of defiance against injustice has the power to echo through history. Today, the courage of one child has set in motion a wave of retribution that reminds us all that dignity and truth cannot be silenced. The narrative ties this present moment to historical instances of retribution. Images of past protests, civil rights marches, and determined faces from decades past appear in faded overlays, drawing a clear line between past struggles and the ongoing fight for justice. The camera returns its focus to the young child Darius, who sits quietly near the front of the bus. His posture remains unbowed, his gaze calm yet imbued with the quiet power of his dignity. In slow motion, his eyes meet those of a supportive passenger, whose reassuring smile speaks volumes about the impact of his brave words. This moment is captured with poignant close-ups that emphasize his inner strength and the profound effect his simple act of speaking out has had on everyone present. The final moments of this segment blend ambient sound with reflective dialogue. Soft, resolute music underpins the visuals. As the voiceover concludes, Darius's defiant act has not only challenged a singular moment of prejudice, it has ignited a collective awakening. His dignity has become a beacon, urging us all to confront injustice whenever and wherever it arises. The camera pans over the bus once more, revealing the subtle yet undeniable shift in atmosphere. The energy of the room has transformed from one of subdued resignation to a vibrant, shared determination for justice. In these powerful minutes, the story of instant karma is not merely a reaction, it is a catalyst for broader change. The incident becomes a tangible reminder that every act of courage, no matter how small, contributes to a legacy of resistance against systemic injustice. The sequence leaves viewers with a resonant sense of hope and responsibility, a call for each person to honor and build upon the courage of that young child. News clips flash across the screen, a montage of headlines and on-scene interviews, capturing the swift fallout from the incident. In a series of crisp, authoritative segments, reporters detail the immediate consequences for the bus driver. A stern-faced official declares that the driver is under investigation for violating anti-discrimination laws, and press releases confirm that legal action is underway. The footage shows the bus driver being escorted away by authorities, his face a mix of shock and resignation, as the weight of accountability descends. A legal analyst appears on screen. When authority is misused, the community's demand for justice ensures that those in power must answer for their actions. His words, underscored by the gravity of the moment, set the tone for the systemic change that is unfolding. In tandem with these on-the-ground developments, the bus company has issued a sweeping statement denouncing discriminatory practices and promising immediate policy reviews. The narrative transitions to scenes from a press conference, where company executives pledge to implement rigorous new training programs and oversight measures aimed at preventing future incidents. The camera lingers on a powerful quote: "Accountability is not merely about punishing the wrongdoer. It is about restoring trust and ensuring that every individual is treated with respect." Interwoven with these statements are images of community leaders and civil rights advocates applauding the decisive action, their expressions reflective of both relief and resolve. A civil rights leader is heard saying, "This is a victory not just for one child, but for every person who has ever suffered in silence." The ripple effects extend far beyond the immediate legal consequences. The expert analysis provided by legal scholars and community activists underscores that this incident marks a turning point, a clear signal that systemic racism, especially in public spaces, will no longer be tolerated. An esteemed professor of law explains, "When we see accountability enforced swiftly and transparently, it sets a precedent. It teaches us that justice, even when delayed, is inevitable when the courage to speak up is honored." These insights are paired with visual montages of policy review meetings and boardroom discussions, where diverse voices are gathered around a table, engaged in vigorous debate and planning. The narrative emphasizes that the driver's downfall is not an isolated incident, but part of a broader movement toward institutional reform, a collective effort to ensure that discriminatory practices are dismantled once and for all. As the legal and institutional responses take shape, the focus gently shifts to the healing and empowerment of the community. In intimate, warm visuals, the film captures scenes of local gatherings in community centers and parks. Neighbors are seen discussing the incident with a renewed sense of purpose, their conversations laced with both pride and the recognition that change begins with each individual act of courage. Interviews with older community members reveal that many have witnessed similar struggles in their youth, and they express gratitude that the injustice has been met with swift accountability. It reminds me of the days when our voices were our only weapons against oppression. One elder reflects, his eyes filled with both nostalgia and hope. Today, a child has reminded us that dignity can defy even the most entrenched systems. The camera returns to Darius, the young boy who became the catalyst for this chain reaction. In a series of uplifting close-ups, his face shines with quiet pride as he walks alongside supportive neighbors. His role is redefined, not as a victim of circumstance, but as a symbol of hope and change. In one powerful scene, he is seen laughing with friends outside a community hall, his earlier pain transformed into a beacon of resilience. His mother, speaking softly in an interview, states, "Darius's courage has ignited something within all of us. It is proof that even in the face of injustice, hope can prevail and inspire change." A visual montage concludes the segment, weaving together scenes of community meetings, heartfelt hugs, and determined faces across generations united in their pursuit of justice. As the uplifting music swells, the montage shifts to show a mural being painted on a city wall, a mural depicting a young, resolute child standing tall amid a storm of injustice, with rays of light breaking through dark clouds. This imagery encapsulates the essence of empowerment and collective healing. The narrative concludes on a note of optimism. Today, we celebrate not only the accountability of a system, but also the enduring power of the human spirit. When we stand together, our shared courage can transform even the deepest wounds into a legacy of hope and justice. The journey we have witnessed today, begins with a single moment of injustice on a city bus, where a racist act set a chain of events in motion that would not only disrupt the status quo, but also ignite the flames of change. From that initial command to force a young child to the back of the bus, the scene unfolded with a stark contrast between the mundane routine of a daily commute and the deep-seated pain of discrimination. That moment of injustice was the catalyst for a brave interruption, when a small voice rose in defiance, asserting dignity and challenging prejudice with a few carefully chosen words. In that instant, the oppressive silence was broken, and the impact of that courageous act resonated throughout the bus, rippling outward into the community. As the narrative advanced, we witnessed the swift hand of instant karma. The bus became more than a means of transportation. It transformed into a stage where justice and accountability took center stage. The immediate retribution that followed, marked by the rapid arrival of law enforcement, the mobilization of community members, and the explosive power of social media, demonstrated that injustice cannot remain unchallenged. This event, captured with dynamic visuals and stirring commentary, shifted the focus from the tainted authority of a racist bus driver to the unwavering truth that dignity demands respect. The boy's quiet strength, his calm assertion of self-worth, and the solidarity shown by those around him forged a moment of historical significance that reminds us that even the smallest act of courage can set in motion monumental change. In reflecting upon this transformative day, we recognize that every small act of dignity carries with it the potential to create monumental ripple effects. The courage of one young soul has stirred a wave of accountability and reform that reverberates through our community. Historical struggles for civil rights echo in every step of this journey, reminding us of past battles fought and the sacrifices made by those who dared to speak out. The lessons of the civil rights era are not relics of a bygone time. They are living testimonies that continue to inspire future generations to challenge injustice whenever it arises. Now, as we stand at the close of this powerful narrative, we are left with a profound call to action. Let this story serve as an enduring reminder that each of us has the power to confront racism and inequality in our own lives. It is a call to remain vigilant and to support acts of courage wherever they occur. Every time we choose to speak out against injustice, we contribute to a legacy of hope and progress. Our community thrives when we stand together, united in our determination to create a more just and compassionate society. The final visuals capture a slow, breathtaking sunset over the city skyline, where the golden hues of dusk mingle with the silhouettes of proud, diverse community members gathered together in unity. The images evoke a promise of renewal and the enduring strength of collective resolve. As the camera pans over faces filled with hope and determination, the narrative invites each viewer to reflect on their own experiences and to share their stories of courage and justice. In doing so, we bridge the gap between generations, fostering a dialogue that enriches our understanding and empowers us to continue the fight for equality. Let us honor the spirit of that brave child, whose dignity transformed a moment of pain into a beacon of hope. May we all be inspired to stand up, to speak out, and to never allow injustice to go unchallenged. The time for change is now, and every voice matters in the ongoing pursuit of justice. Share your stories, support one another, and join the movement that seeks to build a future where every individual is treated with the respect and fairness they deserve.